Boruto episode 150 is done and in the books, and yo, now we are finally getting to a very important fight in the life of Boruto Uzumaki. Like, in the list of fights that have happened in the Boruto manga, the Boruto versus Jojo G fight is hands down, in my opinion, the most important fight that we get. Now, I know somebody's probably going to bring up some of the stuff that happens later on. Somebody's going to bring up the Momoshiki fight. The reason why I feel like this is the most important is because this opens the door for Kara, and that's all I'm going to state for the anime only. So I'm not going to spoil that for you guys. I'm just going to say this fight opens the door for Kara. So a lot of the stuff that you've been hearing a lot of manga fans such as myself talk about, this directly leads into it. So with that being said, I gotta say this episode, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed this episode. Like, it wasn't one of those times where I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, I see what they're trying to do, but at the same time I feel like they kind of left something out. This isn't one of those episodes. So one of the things that this episode did is it expounded on a few different things that were hinted at or implied in the manga that never really got fleshed out, and that's part of the reason why I say the manga is one big snapshot and the anime is the complete picture of the story. But they just fleshed out scenes to lead into stuff that happened in the manga. Like in the manga, we find out that Tento was kidnapped, and that was it. In this episode, you actually see the build up to Tento being kidnapped. You know, like you see Shojoji take over the body of the butler, then you see him actually leading Tento into the woods away from the feudal lord's protection, and you actually see him being set up. Like, that was nice. That little small detail that they added to the episode, I personally enjoyed that, because I always wondered how they kidnap him. Did they take him out of his bed? How did they get past security? Little small things like that. Like, I enjoy it when the anime adds details to stuff like this. The other thing I thought was cool is how Boruto and Team 7, they're walking through the Hokage office, and I didn't know this. Again, if the anime for Naruto and Naruto Shippuden added filler to it, I'm not aware of it, but this is the first time that I've actually seen a Jonin's office actually be in the Hokage Tower. So I thought that that was something interesting as well. So I like the little small details. Like, I know the manga showed us with Boruto and Team 7 in Konohamaru's office, but I don't recall them actually showing it being in the Hokage Tower. So I thought that that was cool. I thought that that was pretty cool. And I will say that, you know, for Konohamaru, you know, he should feel proud right now. He really should feel proud, because his team had already been acknowledged as one of the best teams, if not the best team in Konoha, for the fact that, you know, they complete all these missions that are very high rate, and now they're being given a B rank mission. And I'm working on a whole separate video that is basically going over all of the mission ranks in Naruto. I got a lot of juicy information that a lot of casual fans as well as some hardcore fans might not actually know. That video won't be coming out for a while because I'm getting it edited by somebody else. But I will say this, I like how now you're seeing the growth process of Team 7, and I like how Boruto is actually making a decision that I personally feel is the decision that somebody that's a Chunin would make, which is you have the mission, but you also have a situation where there's a direct fallout from the last mission that you completed. Things are kind of descending into chaos, and Boruto feels a bit of a responsibility to that. So I like how Boruto makes the decision to say, hey, you know, this mission's cool and all, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one to the side. And I will say this bit right here. Like, again, little small things that the anime episode did this week that fleshes out stuff in the manga, I really enjoyed it. Like, getting that moment where Akio is looking at all the boxes that Tento purchased, and he's like, oh, I'm about to scold this kid. I'm about to end this kid's whole short career. He's like, you know what? I can't do that. I remember my conversation with Naruto. Naruto said he's just gonna be a kid. Kids gonna be kids, you know? So he's like, okay, you know, I'll take him to a hot spring. I'll soak with them, and I'll talk things out with them. And I can say right now that probably would have worked, because Tento is just like how Naruto and Boruto were, okay? So basically Tento and Akio is Naruto and Boruto, but on a grander scale. And if Naruto would have took the time to speak to Boruto before the Chunin exams, acknowledge him, say, hey, I noticed that you're doing all this training. I know you're really good. I'm proud of you. Can't wait to see what you do. Boruto probably wouldn't have been seduced to using the scientific ninja tools. With Tento, it'd been the same thing. If Akio would have just sat down and talked to him and said, look, I know you want my attention. mission. You don't need to spend all this money in order to do so. I'm gonna try and take more time with you. My job is very, very busy, but you're also important to me as well. We'll find that balance. If that would have happened, I guarantee Tento, his whole attitude would have changed. Like, that's the only reason why he wants to become a ninja, is so his father can actually take notice of him. So the other thing that I'll say is that, you know, in terms of adding stuff to this episode, you know, normally I'm a manga purist, and you know, whenever I get to anime adaptations, if you're not adapting the source material 100%, normally I get really, really upset. So this isn't the case this week. You know, I did notice, like with Sarada, they changed the outfit. Like in the manga, you know, Sarada was training in basically her sleeping clothes as she was getting ready for the mission, you know, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. But the thing I will say is that I did not like how they cut at the very end of that scene. There's a huge moment for all these people that ship Boruto and Sarada together. Okay, so people like my friend Eternal Hokage, you know, there's this scene at the very end where the anime cut it, where basically after Sarada has that moment where she says like, hey, something's going on with Boruto, it must be pretty important. Sarada has that moment where she's got her back against the door as she's speaking to Boruto after Boruto takes off. And I'll have the panel on the screen so you guys can see it, but after Boruto takes off, Sarada takes the glasses off of her face, and she's got this like big look on her face, you know, eyes are wide and everything. She's got the glasses in her mouth, she's biting down on him, and she says like, I don't know what's gotten into Boruto, but he's really, really shot in a row. So basically, you know, she's got Sakura's verbal tick or whatever, and you know, a lot of people use that as a way to say like, oh man, you know, that's a sign that Sarada's starting to develop feelings for Boruto. So the manga has a few different moments leading up to this where you get the idea that Sarada might have feelings for Boruto, and that's gonna be really important once we get to the Owl arc. I'm not gonna spoil that, but I'm gonna say that, you know, there's some characters that are coming back in the Owl arc, and you know, Boruto's got a little bit of a harem going on, and having this moment right here cut from Sarada's scene, it kind of cheapens that moment right there. So I think that they're gonna change something around in that moment that happens in the Owl arc. So I will say, overall, I thought that part was handled great. Now, the other thing is I like how they did the build up to Boruto stepping in to save Tento from Shojoji. So I like how Shojoji is explaining in detail how his jutsu works. And, you know, that's some classic part 1 Naruto stuff where everybody's like, oh, this is my jutsu, it works in this way, I'm gonna use it to do this. I thought that all that was cool, but what I will say is I like the little small touches, but I did notice a few small things. The first thing is, like, I noticed that Shojoji didn't have his cigarette in his face. Like, I thought that, you know, that was something where, like, we've seen Asuma smoke. You know, I don't know if maybe some of the anime episodes have edited out Asuma actually smoking, so I thought that was a little bit of a interesting creative choice to get rid of Shojoji's cigarette. I think it fits into that whole sleazy mob boss type look that he has going on. So I thought that cutting that out was a little bit cheap, but I'm ready to roll with it because, you know, I can't complain, because I said, hey, you know, they're probably gonna cut Shojoji's brain-eating jutsu out of this scene. You know, Boruto anime's been kind of treading lightly. I don't think they're gonna do that, and we actually saw it. So, you know, Shojoji, after basically talking all his trash to Tento, you know, he has his mouth wrapped around Tento's head, and he's like, look, I'm gonna eat your brain, I'm gonna take on your appearance, I'm gonna get close to the feudal lord. After father and son have this heartwarming, heart-touching reunion, and they explain their feelings to one another, I'm going to take over your father's body, I'm gonna run the land of fire. And I thought that was very, very important, because the thing is, when I talked about it in my Mujina Bandits Explained video, I said, hey, just like how the Akatsuki had to take on all these different side jobs and mercenary work in order to enable them to work by themselves independently from anybody else, I thought that, you know, this was nice how, you know, basically we find out like Shojoji's like, look, we got a chance to take the feudal lord's son, we're about to get 500 million Rio. That's gonna be enough to fund our operation. So I thought that was cool that they kind of put that in there. So I like how, again, like the anime's adding little small stuff. Like in the manga, they stated that they wanted money, they stated they wanted prisoners released from Hozuki Castle, but I don't remember the exact amount of Rio they wanted. So I thought that was cool. Now, another thing I noticed this. It might go over the heads of some people that aren't necessarily going to be hardcore fans, but you know, one thing that the Boruto anime's done on numerous occasions is it's paid homage to a lot of different scenes that you got in Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, and in particular it's remade some of the scenes that were in the Naruto manga that didn't necessarily make it into the anime. And in this case, this scene did get made in, but I thought it was cool where we saw Boruto use the body flicker. Okay, he used body flicker and he gets right behind one of the Mujina Bandits members and he puts the kunai to his throat, and that scene is almost identical to the scene that Minato used during the Third Great Ninja War, where Minato used his body flicker and got behind one of the stone ninja. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, he used the Flying Thunder God. He used Flying Thunder God to save Kakashi from the attack, but he used his body flicker in order to get behind the other dude and strike him with the kunai. So I thought it was cool that we saw Boruto remake that scene right there. I thought that that was really interesting, just to have that, you know, just a little small touch. This is going to be a mission that's going to give Boruto a lot of credit in the future. So I thought all this was handled very well. I thought the little small touches that were added in here, like Jojo G kicking Tento around, putting his foot up against his rib. I mean, the little small stuff like this, I thought that this was good. You know, if you can't tell, obviously I enjoyed the episode a lot. So I'm gonna have 2 episode questions for you guys. The first one is, how do you feel about Boruto making the decision to basically forego his B rank mission in order to save Tento? Do you think that was the right call? Do you think he should have let somebody from Konoha know? And my second question is, how do you feel about the ending scene of Sarada's scene with Boruto being cut? Do you think it was a good idea to cut that, or do you think that having Sarada potentially express feelings for Boruto is something the anime made the right decision to cut out, or do you think they should have left it in? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.